Okay, so this is your Unit 6 review. Remember, this is not a grade. And you can either do the YouTube video with the Google form to help you study, or you can just do the Edpuzzle, whichever one you prefer. So you have to do both unless you want to. It's not a grade either way. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start off with our vocabulary. So our first vocab word is ratio, and a ratio is a comparison of numbers or quantities. So you think of it as like a fraction is what they usually look like. So you can think of a ratio as A over B. Remember, a ratio can also be written as A colon B. That is also another way to write a comparison of two or more numbers. And it can also be written in sentence format, so we could say A to B, right? These are all examples of a ratio. And again, your vocab word here is that it is a comparison of quantities. Okay, you're just showing a relationship between two quantities. It's a proportion. Well, a proportion is whenever you have equal ratios. So it looks kind of like equal fractions. It's like saying these are all proportions. And we've done a lot with proportions in this section when it came to testing, defining scale factors, and all of that jazz. All right, so let's keep going. All right. Now, since this is a review, I will let you know that there are some vocab words on your exam. For instance, similar polygons is on your exam. So what does it mean for polygons to be similar? Well, it means that corresponding angles are congruent and so angles congruent and correspond sides are proportional. Okay, this one is very important. This one is on your exam, so make sure you know that one. Okay, the next one we have is 3 ways to prove triangle similarity. Okay, this one is also on your exam. So the 3 ways to prove triangle similarity is angle, angle, side, 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 and side, angle, side. All right, so that's it when it comes to vocab on your exam. Next part of your exam is going to be all about solving proportions. So remember, proportion is whenever you have equal ratios. But how do you solve it? Use cross multiplication. So that means you're going to multiply diagonally. So we would say A times D is equal to, then multiply diagonally, B times C. All right, so let's go ahead and practice that. And I've provided an example that is similar to the ones you'll see on your exam, okay? So if we are to use cross multiplication here on example 1, we would have 10 times B is equal to 9 times 4, okay? Please use your calculator so that you don't make any simple mistakes, okay? So we're going to do 9 times 4. We get 36. So we have 10B equals 36. And just a reminder, how you get rid of or solve for a variable whenever a number is written right next to it, you use division. So we're going to divide both sides by 10. And we get B equals, should be 3.6, but we're going to use the calculator to make sure. 3.6. Okay, so if you're doing the Edpuzzle, it is about to get paused, and this will be your question. You're going to solve for x whenever you're given this. 4 over 2 is equal to x over 7. If you're using this as your YouTube video, this will be the question on your Google form. Okay? All right. Okay, let's do another example using cross multiplication. So we have 5 over 11 is equal to 7n over 4. So we're going to have 5 times 4 is equal to 11 times 7n. Okay, please use your calculator so you don't make any simple mistakes. So 5 times 4 is 20. 11 times 7n is 77n. Okay, and again, just like before, if we want to get the variable by itself and something's written right next to it, we divide by whatever is right next to it. Yes, you'll get a lot of decimals on your test, so just be prepared. So n is about 0.26. Works for me. Again, if you're doing the ed, it is now your turn to solve for n. When we have 4 over 10 is equal to 6n over 3. And again, if you're doing the Google form, this is one of your questions on your Google form. All right, let's do another one. Now we have an expression involved. So we have n minus 4 over 3 and 5 over 2. So we're going to do n minus 4 times 2. Remember when you're dealing with expressions to write them in a set of parentheses. And then we have 3 times 5. The reason why you write it in a set of parentheses is because that's going to remind you that we are using the distributive property here. So we're going to distribute that too, which means it's going to multiply by everything inside those parentheses. So we have 2n minus 8 equals 15. Now we just need to solve for n. So you can do this by drawing the line and doing variables and constants if you like. So let me go ahead and do that. Or if you just want to solve it like by doing opposite operations, you can do that as well. Variables, constants. So our only variable is 2n. It's already over here, so we don't have to change it. Constants, we have 15. We have this negative 8 that we need to move over. So we'll add. So we've got 2n equals 23, right? Yay! This is why we use, I don't know what just happened, I don't know why it downloaded, but whatever. Alright, 23. Okay, 4, to get the variable by itself, we divide by 2. And our final answer is 11.5. Okay. And again, now it is your turn to solve one with an expression. So we have 4 over 6 equals x plus 2 over 10. Okay, let's keep going. And again, that would be on the Google form if you're doing the other one. All right, example 4. Now we're dealing with having variables on both sides. And we have an expression, so make sure you put that in parentheses. So we have 9 times x plus 3 equals x times 2. Again, we're using our distributive property here. So that gives us 9x plus 27, I do believe. Yep. And then x times 2 is just 2x. All right. And constants. So our variables, we have 9x, 2x over here, so we have to make it opposite. So instead of positive 2x, negative 2x. We don't have any constants over here, but we have one over here. So let's move it over. Okay. So 9x minus 2x is 5x equals negative 27. And again, to solve for x, we divide by 5. And we get negative 5.4. All right, your turn. Now, this time we don't have a variable on both sides, but we're still dealing with two variables, so we're going to have to combine our like terms. All right, now, that's it to our proportions. So the next part of your exam is going to be about testing for similar polygons. Remember, we already discussed the definition of similar polygons, and that's part of the two things you need to find. You need to make sure that your angles are congruent and your sides are proportional. Okay, so here we go. Let's test it. So if we look at example 5 here, first thing I want to, so they have to be in the same location. So I know these two angles right here, they are in the same location. But this one is 110 and this one is 100. So my question, equal? They're not. And remember, our angles have to be equal. So we don't have to do anything else here. We can just go ahead and say, not similar. Yay. Now let me check. Yeah, okay. So let's do another example. Since that one only showed us how to do the angles, we also need to remind ourselves how to deal with proportional sides. So we have example 6 here. Now if I check my angles, they're all right angles. So we're good to go on the angle front there. But let's talk about our sides. So for this quadrilateral, we have a side length of 7 and 6. For this one, which means it's a rectangle, we have 35 and 30. Okay? So when you're checking for proportionality, I always like to remember to go from small to large. So let's start with my first figure here. I have 7 and 6. So I'm just going to go like that. And you're making it fractions. So if I go from small to large, my other figure, I have 30 over 35. So look at that again. I took my first figure from small to large on top, my second figure from small to large on the bottom. And what we're doing is checking to see if they are equal. So I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to go 6 divided by 30, and I get 0.2. And then I'm going to go 7 divided by 35, and I get 0.2. Those are equal. So guess what? We are similar. Boom, boom. Okay, now it is your turn. Okay, check to see if these are similar polygons. Now, if you can already tell, you have your right angles, so it's all about checking those sides. So go ahead and give that a shot. The next part of your exam, we already know we have similar figures. Now we need to find the scale factor. Your scale factor is going to be your ratio that just compares the two figures. All right, and we want to do a scale factor of large to small. So scale factor is always represented by K, and we want to have small, large, but actually, I already said it right up here, small to large. We don't want to write it as a fraction. So the important thing here is to identify corresponding means they're in the same location. So we're looking for things that are in the same spot. So if I look at my small figure, this is obviously my small, because he's tiny. We only know these sides that are 28, right? So what I want to do is I want to see over here on my large figure, which one matches up with 28. Does 40? No. Does 35? Yes, it does. 35 matches up with 28. So what you're thinking, okay, our scale factor is 28 to 35. Done. Nope, because these can simplify. So what can divide by 28 and 35? Well, let's see. 5 can't divide by 28. Can 7? Why, yes, it can. Both of these are divisible by 7. It's kind of like simplifying a fraction. You're just finding what they're both divisible by. So 28 divided by 7 is 4. 35 divided by 7 is 5. So that, your scale factor. Okay? All right. Your turn. But I'm going to help you out before you do this one on your own. Let's go ahead and discuss which ones match up, because you have more options here on this one. Your small figure, right here. Here's your large figure. And you're like, okay, well, I noticed that 21 and 28 match up. They do. You could do 21 and 28. You could also do 24 and 32. But do you have to do both of them? No, you do not. Just pick one of them and simplify it and find your scale factor. Okay, the next part of your exam is going to be algebra and similar polygons. So this is all about being able to identify what matches, setting up your proportion, and solving it. So it's using a lot of the stuff we've talked about. It's talking about using cross multiplication to solve. It's talking about identifying corresponding parts, and it's talking about setting up proportions. So it's all about seeing what matches. So first thing I want to do is see what matches with my x. So expression that goes with x right here. And I want to see my other figure, what does it match up with? Well, it matches up with 32. So I'm going to say negative 10 plus over 32 equals. All right, next I need to find my next set of matching parts. So here's 4. Do I know what corresponds with 4? No, I do not, so we can't use it. Here's 3. Do I know what corresponds with 3? 12 does, so I can use it. 3 over 12. Now, if I had this side, would I need to use it? No, technically you wouldn't. You only have to have 2 sets of corresponding sides to be able to solve these. Okay, now it's all about that cross multiplication game. Here we go, cross multiplying. So we have 12 times negative 10 plus 2x equals 32 times 3. And we're going to use distributive property again. Super fun. So we've got, what, negative 120 plus 24x equals 96. All right. Variables and constants. Okay, my only variable I have is 24x, and it's already on this side, so we're good. My constants, I have a 96 over here. I have this negative 120 that I need to move over, so it needs to turn opposite. So I've got, I'm running out of room, 24x equals 200 and something. 216. And I know it's getting really smushy at the bottom of the paper. My bad. We get x equals 9. Okay. I know that was a lot. These are probably the higher order thinking because they're involving more than one bit of content that we've discussed. But it is your turn. Again, I'm going to help you out before you start. Here is your x value, x plus 9. And let's see what it matches up with in our other figure. It matches up with 15. Okay. And then we only know one other over here with 15, so we have to see what matches up with it, and that's 24. So you should have x plus 9 over 15 equals 24 over 20. Okay? Go ahead, take it away. Next, we're going to talk about proving similarity. Now, we've already discussed this as well in your vocab. When you're talking about proving triangle similarity, we can use angle, angle, which means you're going to have 2 sets of congruent angles. We can use side, 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 which means you can have all 3 sides proportional. Or we can use side, angle, side, which means we're going to have 2 sets of proportional sides and 1 congruent angle between them. And if you're like, how do I know which one I use? It's all about identifying how many sides you're working with. So for example, if I look at example 9 here, I notice in all 3 of my figures, I know all 3 sides. So I know side, side, side is what I need to test because I know all 3 sides. Again, you're going to go from small to large. So if I'm looking at my first one here, I have what? 42, 84, 98. Pew, pew, pew. If I look at my second one here, I've got 30, 60, 70. And it's all about seeing if they're equal. So I have 42 over 30. That gives me 1.4. 84 divided by 60. Ooh, 1.4. Looking good so far. Let's check the last one. 98 over 70. All 3 of them are equal. That's good news for us. That means that we are similar. Remember the squiggle means similar. By side, side, side. Woo. Now it's your turn. This looks a lot like the example I just did, so test it out and see what you get. right, let's look at example 10. Now I notice here that I know two sides of each of my triangles. So that means we need to check side, angle, side. So first I want to identify that angle because that's the easiest part to find. I'm not given any angles, but I am given vertical angles, our bow tie. So that means we have these angles right here that are congruent. So we're good to go on that. So if I look at my triangle over here on the left of my bow tie, and I go from small to large again, I've got 40 and 60. Now let me look over here on the right, from small to large, I got 55, and I've got 83. Okay, it's all about those being equal. So here we go. 40 over 55. I get a long one. So 0.7272, and it repeats all the way till almost to the end, and then it says 3. Okay, and then I got 60 over 83. This one has 0.228, and it keeps going with a whole bunch of numbers. And you're like, well, 0.72, they're equal, right? No, it has to be exactly equal. And because these decimals are not equal, that means these are not equal. And if they're not equal, then we are not similar. Okay? All right, now it's your turn. Same setup as the last one, okay? You're checking for side, angle, side. All right, let's look at example 11. Now, notice I don't know any sides, so it's all about checking that angle game. I notice here I'm given these, so that's a good sign. Since I know these already, I know I have at least one set of congruent angles. Do I have a second one? I'm not given a second one, but I also notice I have vertical angles in a bow tie. So that technically is my second one. So because I have two congruent angles, I am similar by angle. Your turn. Okay. Let's keep going. More triangle proportionality. So this is section 6.6, and this is all about just seeing what matches up to create your proportions. All right, so when I look at my first one here, I'm going to go ahead and all my question marks I'm going to replace with an X because it just makes it easier for me. So on this side of my triangle, I have X, and it's talking about that entire side. So what's going to match up with it is the entire side on the other side of the triangle, which we don't know, but we can find it. Because if we know this is 2 and that's 4, to find the whole thing, we just add it together. So we're going to say 2 plus 4 equals 6. So we have X over 6 equals, let's see what else we know on the side with our X value. We know this part of the triangle is 4. Do we know the other side of the triangle that matches it? Why, yes, we do. So we can say 4 over 2. And then we solve it using cross multiplication. So we've got, what, X times 2 equals 6 times 4. So that gives us 2X equals 24. Class change. Okay. Now we divide by 2. And we get our final answer is X equals 12. Okay? And remember, I'm showing you examples that look like ones you'll see on your exam. They're not exactly the questions, so don't take it as that's the big hint. It's not. It's just they look very similar. Your turn. Here's your X by the way. Okay, so that means you need to know what matches it, which is this right here. And you need to find it by using subtraction. That's your hint. Next, example 13. We're still talking about setting up proportions. This time it's with parallel lines. So here's our X, and it's all about seeing what matches, okay? So here's our X on this side of our parallel lines. Well, who does it match up with? Well, it matches up with 8. So we're going to say X over 8 equals, okay, who else do we know on the side with X? Well, we know 21. And what matches up with 21? Why, 12 matches up with it. So we can say 21 over 12. And then how do we solve it? We use cross multiplication. So we would have X times 12 equals 8. Well, x times 12 is 12x equals 8 times 21, which is 168. And then to solve, we just divide by 12. $14. All right, guess what? Your turn. Just like the one we just did. You got this. Next. All right, so this should be our last one. It is. It's our last example, and you'll have your last your turn. Here's our x. Okay, so again, we're talking about the triangle and what matches up with it. So who matches up with x on the other side of our triangle? Why, 12 does. Okay? So we have x over 12 is equal to, well, who's on the side with x? 20 is. And who matches up with 20? 16. Okay. And again, we solve using cross multiplication. So we have x times 16 equals 12 times 20. So we're going to have 16x equals, I think it's 240. It is 240. And then we divide by 16. $15. Okay, and guess what? Your turn. Okay, so we just finished that beautiful review. You have a Google form that you can complete, or you have done this on your Edpuzzle. I have not this for this, but you never know. You never know. This will help you prepare for your test. There will also be a review/practice test that drops with quizzes for you to complete to help you for your exam, and then your exam is due by Sunday. Please do not forget to do it. Remember, you do not want a 0 in the test category. Bad, 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 bad. So, thank you guys, and have a wonderful rest of your day.